Check, check, check. All right, if you go ahead and find your seats, we're going to go ahead and start a little early. Our guest today is one of the busiest guys on the planet, especially now. So we want to make sure if we can be efficient and get him out so he can get back to work. You know, Ann mentioned sometimes we have the ability to get pictures with our speakers afterwards. Sometimes we don't. Kirk's not going to be able to do that today because of his schedule. John Gruden, I think next week probably will be. And but look at this crowd, Kirk. Is this crowd not just outstanding? My gosh, second sellout in a row. Boom, boom, woo. I mean, I was telling Kirk and his good friend Darren, I said, think of our first five speakers. Again, they're hearing about the Touchdown Club for the first time. Sam Pittman, sellout. Kirk Herbstreit, sellout. Oh, John Gruden, who hasn't done an interview since wherever, will be first time in a public setting here next week. Ed Orgeron, with an interpreter, will be here. Hasn't said anything publicly in a public setting. And then the sourpuss, Paul Feinbaum, back to back to back. We could not do this without all of you. Let's give a round of applause for being here and having a great day today. Gary, will you come up and lead us in a word of prayer, please? Gary Underwood.
Absolutely. Kirk, welcome. Good to have you. Razorbacks are still undefeated. You like that? So I will start praying for the Cincinnati game next week, you know, in my quiet time every morning. This week I'm praying for my grandson's 8th grade team. They play PA Thursday night. So, all right, let's pray. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you so much for the beautiful day that we have today, the opportunity to serve you, the food that's been prepared. Give us strength today to serve you in every opportunity that we're given. In your name we pray. Amen.
Thanks, Gary. You know, one of the things that Kirk and I have in common after reading his book is that we're both sweaters. And so I've got my towel here already because it's getting warm in here already, y'all, and I'm sorry. It's just what happens. You get your overflow crowd. You start sweating. I'll never forget, Kirk, watching you the first time you replaced Craig James. And I said, man, that dude is good, but he's sweating like crazy. And come to find out, that's one of your things. You sweat. So all of you who make fun of me sweating, the best in the business does too. So I will occasionally do this today, just in honor of Kirk. I love what my good friend Wally Hall wrote yesterday in the Democrat Gazette about Kirk. If college is Saturday's religion, then Kirk Herbstreit is Billy Graham. How about that? Where's Wally? Where's Wally? Raise your hand, Wally. That's right. Kirk said he wanted to see who wrote that. Check's in the mail. Just to put things in perspective, and Darren mentioned this earlier, that no time in the history of football has one broadcaster done for an entire season done a college game, the premier college game, every Saturday night, in addition to college game day, and also a NFL game every Thursday night. That's what this guy is doing for the first time in the history of broadcasting football games. The fact that he is here is so unique. And Darren, as we talked about, not easy to get him here. So it's going to be fun. You know, remember to mute your phones if you can. Text people and say if you want to watch him on Facebook live, you can do that. We can stream on YouTube. You can listen on 103.7 The Buzz. For those watching online, we do have a couple videos today, 2-3 videos that we're going to play. You won't be able to see those for copyright issues. So just there you go. That's not anything the matter with your screen or here. It's just something that we have to do. I was telling Kirk about all of our great awards up here. That's why we're here to promote football, high school level, college level, Pee Wee level, but very proud of the people we honor in this room and you being here every week as we build up to the end of the year. Of course, Joe Theismann being our speaker. I do want to thank our sponsors real quick. 103.7 The Buzz. Kirk was with Justin and Wes a little while ago. Did a great job on there. Thanks to Terry Mahan, our CEO. The Hatcher Agency, Twin City Limo, Popeye did a great job of coordinating car service. For Kirk. So, you know, these are behind-the-scenes things that you don't see. Thank you, Papa, for the great job and making sure. I think he made record time, Rex, getting from the FBO over here. We appreciate that. War Memorial Stadium. We'll let Rex come up in just a second, talk about high school football begins this week. High school football begins this week. Exactly right. And a big one at War Memorial. We'll let Ricks talk about that shortly. Arkansas Urology, thanks to CEO Scott Davis for broadcasting, help us broadcasting live every week. We appreciate him. And Chris Chinnup, over 100,000 patients they take care of annually. 14 clinics across Arkansas. They're great. Pulaski County Farm Bureau, Todd Dennis, Stephen Reichert, thank you guys. You guys have been delivering for 80 years here in Pulaski County. Give them a chance to quote you some, doesn't matter, car, boat, home. Let them take care of you. They're good people, Todd and Stephen. Advantage Service Company, Kevin Brooks. One call does it all. Thank you guys. 501 one call. HVAC, plumbing, electrical, generators, appliances, you name them. Thanks to Advantage. Dairy Queen. We might need some Dairy Queen in here today because I'm just to sort of cool us off a little bit. We appreciate them. The fastest growing restaurant chain in Arkansas is Dairy Queen. Blake Nelson, Jacob Lively, Todd Denton, thank you for all the work you're doing. 13th location just opened in Clarksville. Simmons Bank Arena. So how many of you heard, I'm going to ask Kirk. Kirk, have you ever heard of five-finger death punch? So, no? Well, you're with me. But the five-finger death punch is coming with Brantley Gilbert. RJ, you know who they are, right? November 26th, Cody Johnson coming 12/26. 7 more announcements coming up in the upcoming week. So they're busy over at Simmons Bank Arena. Thank you to Michael Marion, Janet DeGeorge. Michael, I think he's always been nice about Mississippi State on the broadcast, so you can't complain. Big Red wanted to, instead of me saying anything, Big Red wanted to play its latest commercial. I think I'm in it. I'm sort of embarrassed because I'm so overweight. But go ahead and punch that up. I think our man Roger Scott is in it too. Big Red promoting the big game this weekend. Benton is going to beat us this year.
Let me tell you something, David Basil. Our boys are ready this season.
What are you doing?
Kick him to Bryant.
Bryant, the stadium?
Yeah, if you kick it just right, a little bit of tailwind, it'll get there. That's all mine, baby. That's all me. It's all me. That's all mine. All mine. I got it. We were ahead. Oh, he's got it. Oh, he's got it. Oh, no, that's all right. Penalty. Flag. Flag on the kicker. Here's another one. Oh, yes, yes. Oh, it is time to get the salt bowl started, baby.
There you go. Big Red in the salt bowl. Kirk, there'll be over 30,000 fans at the high school game at War Memorial. It's the biggest rivalry in the state, crowd-wise, between 30 and 35,000. Yeah, very exciting. Another one of our sponsors that wanted to play a video today, Judy Henry, let me know from Wright, Lindsay, and Jennings. They have their newest commercial out. Let's play that now. All right, Wright, Lindsay, and Jennings. Very nice, Judy. Yes, very nice. Great to work with Judy, with athletes from Arkansas and the NIL deals you've done with us. And what did you tell your girls about Kirk? What did you say? Come on. You tell your girls he's your boyfriend. Okay. If you weren't married to Cliff, that's what you say. Yes, there you go. So make sure and get that right. Judy and her husband and I played together. Great guy. But Wright, Lindsay, and Jennings, thank you for being here. Crane Automotive, appreciate you guys. Largest dealer group in Arkansas, 23 locations, multiple leading brands, over 1,000 employees. Crane team's got them. Give them a chance to quote you on a vehicle. They'll take real good care of you. Thanks to Crane Automotive. Appreciate you guys always being here. Democrat Gazette, we just got through telling Darren, Kirk's friend, about the history of the Democrat. Appreciate you, Amanda, Wally Hall. Couldn't be the touchdown club we are today without Wally's support over the years. We appreciate them. And last but not least, Simmons Bank. I will tell you this, if not for Simmons Bank, we would not be doing what we're doing with the touchdown club. We went over and got Kirk this morning in the Simmons plane, and that's some of the things that you have to do to get guys like this that are so busy. Chris White, you always do a great job. George Macris, you guys help make winners out of so many people. You support guys like Will Zalatoris. You support this touchdown club. You put your name on War Memorial Stadium's field, over at the Liberty Bowl, UAPB. You guys do it all, and we're really proud telling these guys about Simmons as we were flying over. So let's give Simmons Bank and all of our sponsors a big round of applause. They're great. Love being here at the Doubletree Hotel. Thanks to Brent Bailey and all his work, and his staff's so amazing. Matt Johnson handling all of our AV and productions. Dwayne Duncan, photography for so many years, does a great job. RJ Hawk to my right, handling all of our social media needs. Best wishes to Meredith Scott Hale, who's watching from her hospital bed. She's needed bed rest for her new child that's on the way. So, Meredith, we love you. We miss you, but thanks for the help. We've got the best volunteer team in America. Kirk, I don't care what club you go to, you'll never see a group of 20 to 25 men and women that volunteer their time and are passionate like we have. You can't do a club without that. And, of course, our executive director, Debbie Wyman, she's the best in the business. Let's give a round of applause to all of our team. Got some special guests here real quick. First, the AD from UAPB, Chris Robinson. And hold your applause here until we get to the where's Chris. Chris, great to have you. Look forward to having you back here soon. I know Congressman French Hill. Where's French? Good to see French. Always good to see him here. Attorney General Leslie Rutledge. I think there's Leslie back there. But I tell you got to get here early, Leslie. I'm sorry. Sorry. Missed that memo. Also great to have, I was talking to Kirk about he has a love for horses and horse racing. The GM of Oaklawn Racing and Gaming Resort, Wayne Smith. Great to have Wayne. Appreciate him being here, along with his buddy Scott Hamby. Appreciate these guys being here. The new athletic director from Arkansas State. Many years at Alabama. Kirk, you've known him for many, many years. Where's Jeff Puritan? Jeff, where's he at? Hey, Jeff, great to have you. Great. Obviously, I know you and Kirk go back a long ways, and great to have you here. Look forward to having you back again, along with Jerry Scott, your SID. Betsy Burrells-Arnold and Molly Arnold-Harrell with the Burrells Award. Where are they at? Ladies, where are you at? Always great to see them. Obviously, Molly has a baby on board. They had pictures with Kirk and the Burrells Award. This is year 26 for the Burrells Award. And it's great to do that. And one of the connections they have with Kirk is Kirk lost his father to Alzheimer's. Of course, that's the purpose and mission of the Burrells Foundation, is to help Alzheimer caregivers. So neat to be able to make you guys have a connection today. Great to have you here. Great to have my mama back. Where's my mama? Great to have my mama B back there. There she is. Darren, you can't have her. Listen, you can't have her. She'll take care of you, though. Great to have you back, Mom. Let's give a round of applause to all those special guests here. Really great to have you. Rex will be doing our recaps coming up. No recap today, but you did want to preview a couple things real quick at War Memorial Stadium. Let's give it up for Rex Nelson, everybody.
Thanks, David. No college football for Arkansas teams, of course, until next week. But this club, as you know, has a long history of supporting high school football through our Players of the Week, through our awards that we give at the end of each season at our annual banquet. So before I got heavy into college next week, I wanted to hit on high school football just for a moment today. We also, of course, support War Memorial Stadium. Thank them for their sponsorship. That stadium has never looked better than it does right now. The state is doing a great job. Here's the deal, David. Over a 5-night period, there are going to be 4 high school games at War Memorial Stadium this week. You've got Bismarck versus Prescott on Tuesday night. You've got Springdale Harbor versus Little Rock Parkview on Thursday night. You've got North Little Rock versus Little Rock Catholic on Friday night. And as already mentioned, you'll have more than 30,000 for Benton and Bryant in the Salt Bowl on Saturday night. So this is your chance this week to support War Memorial Stadium and support high school football. I do a weekly high school poll on my blog real quickly. This will get me in practice for college. Preseason, to give you a sense of where we're lining up. Got Bryant number 1, Conway number 2, Bentonville number 3, Pulaski Academy number 4, Greenwood number 5, North Little Rock number 6, Fayetteville number 7, Little Rock Parkview number 8, Joe T. Robinson number 9, and Warren number 10. Bryant number 1 in 7A. Pulaski Academy, even though they're moving up, number 1 in 6A. In 5A, Little Rock Parkview, who you'll see this week, number 1. In 4A, Warren, number 1. In 3A, Prescott, who you can see tomorrow night, number 1. And in 2A, Desart, number 1. So, again, War Memorial Stadium, 4 games this week in a 5-night period. No excuses. Get out and see a high school football game this week. Thanks, everybody.
You want to borrow my towel? So you're sweating a little bit too, Rex. These lights, man. Two other people I want to mention before we get Kirk up here. One is she's 85 years old. I was told she comes to every meeting. Where is it? Kay Gunter. Kay, wave your hand. Where you at, Kay? 85 years old. Let's give it up for Kay Gunter, everybody. That's what I'm talking about. That's commitment. Love you so much. You must really love football or the vegetable medley they have here, either one. But we're glad you're here, Kay. God bless you. Also, I mentioned I kept referring to one of Kirk's friends. He's sitting to my left. He's a longtime friend. He goes back, if you read Kirk's book, he's in the book. He's a longtime friend, teammate of Kirk. But what's unique about him, for the last 16 years, Darren Brown has been the spotter for all the games that Kirk calls. So spotters basically help Kirk call the game. You know, who made this tackle, what the penalty, those kind of things. He's been doing that for 16 years. And now he's going to be doing not only that, he's going to be doing Thursday night games on Amazon Prime. So he is, I love to see these kind of guys that are their partners, that they start at a young age and they stick together all their lives and they enjoy their success together. Please welcome Darren Brown, everybody. Great to have you, Darren. He's also a founding partner of Wheels Up, which is pretty cool too, a great company. All right, Kirk, why don't you come ahead? I want you to come over here and have a seat right here. And because I want to make sure Steve Sullivan did such a. You can have a seat right there. Yeah, you can take that. Look at it. You're a pro. You know to grab the mic. I want to make sure our man Steve Sullivan from Channel 7. I had no idea what he would put together for you for as far as the introduction, but I want to make sure you see on the monitor there. You can look. Everybody can look at the monitor there. Kirk can see this. Let's get the official intro and the official welcome of the Touchdown Club, Matt. If we will do that now.
A young Kirk Herbstreit is responsible for one of the most exciting quarterback runs in Ohio State history.
Herbstreit running the option, keeps it himself, past the 35, he's got the first down, and he's still going. And he will score. Look at this.
That speed.
It was a dream come true for this Centerville, Ohio native to be named captain as a senior for Ohio State. He passed for 1,904 yards that season. You know Kirk Herbstreit is one of the most prominent voices in all of college football.
He looks very comfortable, quite candidly, and I can't wait to see him continue to grow in this new scheme.
He's been a fixture at ESPN since 1996. He's a 5-time Emmy winner, and he's been named Most Outstanding Analyst 3 times. And Kirk's schedule this fall is crazy. He'll work Thursday night NFL games on Amazon, and on Saturday, he'll man the college game day desk and call ESPN's marquee game. Please welcome the hardest working man in sports broadcasting, Kirk Herbstreit.
Give it up for Kirk.
Thank you. Thank you.
Let's go.
Thank you.
I know it's crowded in here. We always give an official. You get a standing ovation before you speak, Kirk. How about that?
I appreciate it. Thank you, guys. Thank you. Thank you.
Now, as a guy who doesn't get to see his clips replayed very often, Kirk, I want to go back real quick.
Shoulder pads,
Matt, will you show the let's watch this play. This isn't a remarkable run.
Old school girdle pads.
Your senior year, right? Your senior year right here?
My junior year.
Watch this run here. Look at this. Boom. 1 tackle, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Man, y'all are embarrassing.
6. And then look at the speed, the burst. My goodness.
Yeah. You're killing me. Man,
listen, that's outstanding. Yeah, I mean, listen, I don't like quarterbacks.
You're trying to make me sweat to catch up to you.
I don't like quarterbacks, but I appreciate them. Speaking of, he was talking about pads. Let's show a picture of. Let's see a still shot.
I want to see your shoulder.
Okay, we're gonna start with you first. Look at this. That's a quarterback.
That's how we play.
I mean, the face mask looks like a defensive end's face mask. Look at that.
But see, the girdle pad, that was sweet back in the day.
Yeah.
Like that was
you showed that off.
That was style points.
That's right.
Now that's humiliating.
A couple years.
Now that's
no. Listen, I can relate to that.
Those shoulder pads, the linemen today don't wear shoulder pads like that.
Listen, I'm a couple years before you, Matt.
I want to see you.
Matt, here you go. How about that?
Oh my gosh. You're ready to hurt somebody. Wow, you got that stash going.
I told you.
You got that sweet Arkansas. You could see through the jersey.
Yeah,
that mesh.
You remember those days.
You and I were talking about that.
Yeah, and we were talking about how big those shoulder pads. I mean, everybody wore big shoulder pads.
Yeah, the neck roll.
Neck roll. Go back to that real quick.
I want to see your helmet.
Go back real quick. That neck roll, I don't know if it ever did anything to me, but I love the way it looked. You know?
I know.
It worked well with the mustache. It worked well with the mustache.
That was perfect. That's like early 80s, early to mid 80s right there. That's what everybody wore.
Now, it's been since 2006 that you were here in the state, right? I believe the last time Game Day was here. Everybody remember that? If you don't, Matt, would you give us a little walk back in history, and let's see what happened when it came time to predict the game score.
Energized. And when they take on Tennessee, sometimes it's bad memories. 98, the Clint Sterner fumble in Knoxville. The Vols got the win, won the national title. 02, there was that 6 overtime heartbreak. Arkansas wants to write some new history tonight. Win for a 9th straight time. Get within 1 win of clocking.
How good is Fowler? He's really good.
Next week, if they can get the game tonight, and as we said all day, certainly a lot more to play for.
We could just ignore the pick, right? We just. Okay. I remember loving Darren McFadden and Felix Jones.
It's good.
Look at.
Big shoulders.
Yeah. But I said. Yeah, baby.
Here we go.
Oh, God.
See, I love Arkansas. He said, you hear what he says? Look at the size of this thing. So that was obviously, beautiful. And it turned out to be the correct guess. 31-14, McFadden goes for.
Yeah.
McFadden goes for 181.
Yeah.
Puts on a show.
Yeah.
But
was Felix Jones on that team?
Yeah, he sure was.
Man, hey, what a tandem. What a tandem.
Yeah. Peyton Hillis also. So since that time, Kirk, it's been a little rough being a Razorback fan and supporter.
Yeah.
So you think about Petrino, who actually had Arkansas on the way back, top 5, top 10 team. And then you had the incident, and then you brought in Brett Bielema.
Who I thought would have been a good fit. I mean, just because his style of football, but what that didn't go over obviously.
He came close. You know what the key, I think, when it started the downhill for Sam Pittman. Sam Pittman went to Georgia.
Oh, okay.
And I think he started losing assistants. So then after that, you go Chad Morris.
Yeah.
Really, it got tough. Got really tough there.
How long was that?
2 years.
Okay.
2 years.
Long.
So
he's a good man. He's a good guy.
So now in 2 years, Matt, show us the new man in charge. This guy.
Oh boy.
This guy in 2 years has got respect back. You know, went to the SEC Media Days, Kirk, for the first time in probably 5 or 6 years. There was respect for the program. Give your assessment on Sam Pittman.
Well, I've known him for a number of years, and I'll tell you what's rare. How many offensive lineman coaches end up becoming head coaches? You just don't see that happen very often. And I think the bonus in that, and you see it in the way when he speaks to the media, the way he talks to his team, and just the way his overall vibe is, he's kind of got a blue-collar approach to being a head coach. And I think it goes back to being an offensive lineman, you know, and his history of, if you guys ever went to a practice and you watched the quarterbacks and the receivers and the DBs, and then back in the back corner, rolling around in the mud are the offensive linemen. Not at Arkansas, I'm saying at every school, high school, college, everywhere. And there's a coach that they love coaching them and would run through a wall for them. And that's who Sam Pittman's been his whole career. So I think a lot of us wondered if he'd ever get an opportunity to become a head guy, if he would be able to kind of go the same route, that kind of personality, and he has. And so, and when he did his opening presser, he got emotional. It was just like, man, it just feels like a great fit, you know, and up to this point, it's been awesome. They got a lot coming back, you know, with KJ Jefferson coming back, he had a lot of skill around him. There's a lot to be excited about right now. I don't blame you guys for being fired up about the season. Now, the schedule is tough. I mean, I think the team might be better, but the schedule is going to be tough.
No question. We'll get to that in just a second. By the way, thank you, Judy Henry, for your effort in getting Sam Pittman here.
No, great job.
Judy played a major role in getting that to happen.
Yeah.
One of the other things, Kirk, is really interesting, I think, Sam Pittman always throws it out, and because I do the Brules Award, I pay attention, is that assistant coaches, that you have Kendall Briles and Barry Odom back for the third year. I think there are only maybe six total schools that have had a coordinator 3 years in a row on both sides of the ball. So give us your thoughts on Kendall Briles.
Well, Kendall Briles, for me, I'll start with him. He is known, of course, when his dad was at Baylor, and the offense that they ran at Baylor in those years were setting records. And not to get too XO, but what they do, it's very unconventional offense. Jeff Lebby was running it last year at Ole Miss. He's now going to take that to Oklahoma. What they do a lot of times is they'll put receivers, usually receivers are lined up here and lined up here. Well, they'll line them up, if that's the sideline, that wall, they'll line them up over near that sideline, and the other receivers are over here near this sideline. So they're forcing the defense to have to make a decision. Are you going to spread your defensive backs way out there and be worried about these guys? Then you're short in what we call the box, which is like this area right in here. We're just going to run the ball. And if you bring a guy down in here because you're worried about our running game, now you're short a person out here, and now we're going to throw on you. So that's the concept of what their offense is. And Kendall Briles, with the ability to run up-tempo with it, it's almost savant-like to have that ability to – a guy gets knocked out of bounds, he's already calling the play. Forget about down and distance, left hash. Like, he's already got the play going. And I talked to Lane Kiffin about that last year with Lebby, and he said, these guys, Kendall and Jeff, he goes – I've never seen anything like it. He's like, we all do tempo, but not like these guys. These guys have an ability to see the field that's uncanny. He's like, I've never seen it all my years of coaching. And I've heard that from other coaches as well. So you're very fortunate to hold on to Kendall. Hopefully he'll be here for a long time. I think he's going to be a head coach soon myself. But he's awesome. And then Barry Odom, I think if you talk to defensive minds around the country, people would tell you, you know, people are used to competing against him. Same thing you hear over and over. Aggressive, downhill, in your face, but at the same time, very well coached. They play smart. They play with discipline. So you got two outstanding coordinators, and now you got continuity because, like you said, now they've been here for a couple of years, and the players understand what the scheme is.
And also, you probably have not heard this stat just because you have to cover so much. I don't know how many here have heard it, but this is the first year in Kendall Briles' coaching career as an OC that he has a returning quarterback.
Oh, I didn't know that.
How about that?
Yeah, that's amazing.
First time ever. You would think all the places he stopped, he'd have somebody who was but this is the first time.
Wow.
Speaking of that quarterback, let's show him KJ Jefferson. Here's a guy, Kirk, reminds me a little bit of what you went through as a player. Came in, or maybe not, you were probably even more highly talented than he was, but I think Arkansas was the only school that offered him to play quarterback. Most of the other teams wanted to play him at linebacker, you know. And, you know, last year, not many people knew what they had. Comes out and his, you know, touchdown to interception ratio is off the chart. You know, he's leading rusher on the team. But still not given a lot of respect because he's not throwing for, you know, bukus of yardage. But talk about him and his impact.
When I was doing the radio show with your boys, I told them, you know, game day was in Athens last year when we had the Arkansas at Georgia game, and obviously the game didn't go well for Arkansas. But what I recognized in that game was that's as bad of a day as you can have. If Alabama were in that setting, that was a noon kick. We did game day up to kick. It's usually I go somewhere else and do a night game, but that was the game of the week on our network, so they kept Fowler and I there to call the game. And I'm not used to seeing a noon Eastern kick be that loud. And that Georgia, it was just, you got to tip your cap. It was just their year. They had a defense that loved each other. They played hard. I mean, I don't root for teams, but I couldn't help kind of like the Georgia team because they were on a mission. And Arkansas just happened to be there that day. And my point is, he'll never face anything like that the rest of his career like he faced that day. That was an avalanche, and it was over like that. I mean, they scored. He got the ball inside his own 5. He didn't. I mean, it was so fast. That defense was moving. They blocked the punt. The game was over. But he didn't go out. Like, he kept playing and kept competing. So I think the benefit of that, like if he were up here, I'd love to ask him, what did you learn that day? How's that going to help you this year? Because what happens is the game slows down tremendously. And when a quarterback starts to see things slower, wow, that's when he goes to another level. So I expect him to take a huge leap this year. And I just wonder around him, without Burks on the outside, I'm sure they have great players, but I just haven't seen them yet. So I'm looking forward to seeing how they improve on the perimeter.
I think this is the third or fourth year that Arkansas has been labeled by most news organizations.
Like a sleeper?
No, not that. The toughest schedule.
Oh, yeah.
In America.
Well, you got the SEC West, and for fun, you can throw in Cincinnati and then go to Provo. By the way, going to Provo is no joke. I mean, that's a 75, 80,000 seat stadium, and they are ornery. They are a physical, nasty team every year. And I'm just telling you, don't put that as you're going through the schedule. That's a win, that's a loss, that's a maybe. BYU, W, be careful on that one. I would be as nervous of that game, especially on the road. And their veteran team, they had like 18 or 19 starters back. That'll be a fun game. Weird. It's like in the middle of the year.
Yes, it's late. Yeah, you would figure that you would not want to take.
And
that
Cincinnati's going to be an interesting team. Is that week 1? Yeah, that'll be a fun game because obviously they get to the playoff last year. They lose a lot. Desmond Ridder was a 4-year starting quarterback, so they're breaking in a brand new quarterback. But Luke Fickell, man, he has coached his tail off and he's recruited well. So we're going to just learn about both those teams in week 1.
Talking about how tough the SEC West is. Obviously, so much change going on with college football. Nobody knows that better than you because you have to report on it every day. But let's start with Texas and OU coming to the SEC. Thoughts on that? Think it's a good move? Like it? Just the way of the world right now?
I think first of all, I'm a traditionalist. Maybe we'll talk about it. But my dad played at Ohio State. He was a captain at Ohio State. He went on to coach. He got right out of playing and right into coaching with Woody Hayes, and stayed there for a couple of years. And then he went down to Miami of Ohio at the beginning of the cradle of coaches, and went on with Bo Schembechler. And so I grew up in a state much like Arkansas, where high school football and college football, when you're me in the 70s with Archie Griffin, it's everything. I mean, it's all you really think about. And so I'm what you would call a traditionalist. And so what's happening right now is like me trying to deal with a fire hose, NIL, transfer portal, realignment, nobody leading, nobody really is in charge. Greg Sankey's in charge of the SEC. Kevin Warren is in charge of the Big Ten. The other conference commissioners that are in charge of these conferences, but who's in charge of the whole sport? There was a time when you and I played, whoever was in charge of the Big Ten didn't really worry about what was going on in the SEC or didn't need to. But now, everybody is in it together. So we need a leader. We imagine Roger Goodell being in charge of just the AFC South instead of the entire NFL. And imagine if we had 8 Roger Goodells making decisions for the NFL. It wouldn't work. Well, that's what we're dealing with right now. And I'm not saying I blame them, because if I'm Greg Sankey, I'm worried about my constituents, fans like this, presidents, chancellors, coaches, ADs, players. I get it. But as a guy who loves the whole nation, what's happening to the Pac-12? What's happening to the Big 12? I feel bad for the sport as a whole, because it's no longer being a Southwestern Conference fan worried about getting to the Cotton Bowl, or an SEC fan worried about getting to the Sugar Bowl. Those days are gone. Even as a Big Ten guy, Ohio State was undefeated. They're going to the playoff. They lost to Michigan, and their players, this is the next generation, their players like, I guess we got to go to the Rose Bowl. I'm like, don't say that, It's just, but I have to accept this is where we are. We put such an emphasis on the playoff that these bowls that kids skip now are exhibitions. Like, again, it's foreign to me and I don't understand it, but I have to be open-minded. I have to be willing to listen to this new way of thinking. I'm trying really hard to do that. So when you say OU in Texas, I don't understand it, but it's happening. So, okay, USC and UCLA, what? Okay, that's going to happen. And where are we going to be in 5 years? Where are we going to be when the next playoff is going to be eventually coming in, and we're going to be probably at 2025 or 2026? We'll probably have a 16-team playoff. So it's bizarre. One last thing, NIL for me. I don't mean to. If somebody is involved in a collective, I don't mean to be disrespectful. I'm just not a big fan of paying a high school player, basically bribing a high school player to come to my school and give him $8 million for a 3-year contract for NIL. Now, if you're KJ Jefferson, I don't know how that's good for the game. Now, if you're KJ Jefferson and you're a baller and you've earned something on the field and you can go down to the local car place and get a car or get some money, that's the world we live in. That's the marketplace. Good for you. The same thing with Bryce Young, or any of these guys that are established players. That's what NIL is for. And I say, good for you. But the high school kid, he went to this school, they offered him $1 million. Then he goes to the next school, well, we'll give you $2 million. It's like, how is that healthy for the game? So I'm not a fan. Nobody can ever talk me into collectives and, well, we got to raise $14 million if we're going to get the 5-star. I'm like, That's stupid, you know, and I just don't, I'm just not a fan. I never will be.
Speaking of, and I'm going to talk about the book. This book is outstanding. I'm going to reference it a little bit later, but when you're talking about the transfer portal, when you read the story of Kirk Herbstreit and his, you know, if you don't dig, you don't know the story, but you know, going to Ohio State was a dream. Again, your dad was a captain, and we'll get to that a little bit later, but you struggled to, you came very close to giving up, saying, I'm done. I'm tired of the way I've been treated. Didn't like an assistant coach the way he treated. Didn't feel like you had the right shot. You hung around. If there was a transfer portal, you wonder maybe what would have happened to Kirk Herbstreit, but you stuck it out. And I think there's something to be said for your story as it relates to the transfer portal.
Well, I don't know what I would have done if I were in today's world. It's impossible to know, but I know that I was a 5-star, could have gone to any school in the country, and when I knew I was going to go to Ohio State because I went to bed thinking about going to Ohio State every day of my life. So I was going to go to Ohio State. But when I went there, I fell flat on my face. I really struggled with just, I can't believe, it was like, is Superman's locker down there and Aquaman's over there? Like, I thought I was at the Hall of Justice. Like, I couldn't believe that I was, like, in there, you know, and I was one of them. So I struggled with that, and I was an option quarterback in high school. And now John Cooper was my new coach, and he's running a 7-step drop, and I'm trying to learn how to drop in a pocket. So I just really struggled, and I moved to defense like my 3rd year there. I was ready to quit, and I thought, and by the way, I don't know if you have players that you know that go through this, that is really traumatic when you think you're going to go start for 3 or 4 years, and then you, boom, don't, and you're a bust, and everywhere you go, people ask you what's going on, and you're just kind of humiliated, you know, and I talk about it openly. In the book, I talk about it a lot. And it wasn't anybody's fault, it was mine. You know, I probably should have gone to a different school because the system that they were running didn't fit me. But when you go through it, it's very emotional. And I went through, back then, I used to go to a sports psychologist that Ohio State had on staff, and I remember literally going to see him, and I'd walk to the door, and I would like look over my shoulder, make sure none of my boys saw me or none of my coaches, and then I would go in to go see him, because back in 1990, it wasn't cool to go see a sports psychologist. So I was and by the time I left, I went through it, I talked to my dad, I was like, I want to quit, I want to go play baseball. And he didn't like yell at me, or he just kind of encouraged me. He was more of a peaceful, encouraging voice. And he was just more like, go give it another spring, you know, and see how it goes. And I kept enduring, but that sports psychologist was a game changer for me. And it got to a point where I got through it, and then my last year which was really cool. This now doesn't always end like this, but for me, I was voted unanimous captain by my teammates, and then at the end of the year, voted MVP and most inspirational player, again by my teammates. So what I learned through going through that mud, it was a game changer in life for me as a husband, as a dad, as an employee, my work ethic, like every wiring I have in me is from that experience of failure and getting through failure. So when I see kids, when they face that adversity and they're just like, man, this is BS, I'm out of here. I'm not saying it doesn't make sense. I'm just saying what happened to me changed my life because I got through that. And I wish more kids kind of fought through it a little bit because of what's on the other side.
Yeah, that's definitely worth a round of applause. I'm just telling you, this book is so good. It is so good. I'm going to circle back around about you and your dad and being team captains here in a minute. Let's quickly go to College Game Day. If you put up the number, there it is. This is a great shot, I think, of all of you guys. What a team you guys have put together there, and I know you respect all those guys greatly. Had been some change there, but the guy to your right there, Lee Corso. Matt, show him a couple of the pictures, over the years, different things. I know you call him your second dad. Yeah. A couple more shots there. Obviously,
that's blood coming down.
I thought that's what that was. You're wiping the blood.
He blamed me for that, by the way. He thought I stabbed him with one of the swords he gave me.
Is that what it was? And there's this coonskin cap and one more. Now, interesting about this, for those that
that's first one.
That's the very first one, 1996. And for those of you that don't know this, Kirk's wife and Kirk played an important role in beginning this tradition, if you want to tell the story.
Yeah, I mentioned my senior year. So my third game, my senior year, we're playing Syracuse, who's loaded. They were a top 5 team in the country, and it was on the road. And I'm sitting here talking during a timeout to my offensive coordinator, and as he's talking to me, I'm like looking at him because not that I spent a lot of time looking at cheerleaders, but I just happened to see a cheerleader behind him as he's talking to me about a play or something. I was just kind of like, we were at a TV timeout, so and I was just like, I just kind of paused for a second, and then I came back into the world that we were in, trying to win a game on the road, and I just made a mental note there. And so we played the game and we won. It was a huge upset. And in the locker room, our third-string quarterback was dating a cheerleader and actually ended up marrying her. And at the time, I said, "Hey, man, who was that? Can you find out anything about that?" So I came off an 8-year relationship in high school and college. I dated one girl throughout high school and college, and I broke up with her going into my senior year. She graduated in 4 years. I was there for my 5th year. She went to Chicago to have a job. And I was like, man, after all I've been through, I just don't have time for that. I just want to lock in and just make this the best year I can. And then I had that TV timeout, and I was like, and I was like, man. So to my credit, I finished. I never talked to her or anything. I finished the season, and then the spring, I was introduced to her, and I ended up, we dated for a few years, and then I married her. And so she was a former cheerleader. So fast forward to I get College Game Day, and in 1996, Lee Corso, that was the first year I was on the show. Lee Corso, before he did that, he would just ask one of our guys on the set, hey, you see that hat, that crazy hat over there? Go ask that guy if I can use his hat. And he would just put a ball cap on, with whatever team he picked or whatever somebody's crazy hat somebody had. Well, that week he said, and when he gets something on his mind, he is relentless. So he's just like, Monday he called, Tuesday he called, Wednesday he called, and I had no idea it was going to become what it is. And I'm like, you want a Brutus? And I didn't know him yet, really. I'm like, I'll ask Allison. Maybe Allison can figure it out. So she asked, and the cheerleading coach said, absolutely not. It's protected. Brutus is protected. There's no way we can allow that. So I said, no, it's not going to happen. I'm sorry. And then next day he calls me, have her ask it again. We got this is going to be great. I got to do it. So then I went to the athletic director, and then he said, let me look into it. I said, I don't know what he's doing, man. He just wants to put the Brutus hat on. And then on Friday, like late afternoon, they green lighted it. So again, I just thought it was put Brutus on, throw it back to the guy, and it's over. And man, he put that Brutus hat on, and the reaction from people, and that was it. That was the first time, and from that point on, he's worn except when we go to Auburn and Michigan, the only places, like he'll put on one of those helmets that doesn't have a face mask, or whatever he does, but he's done it since 1996 from that game.
Over 300, I think, right? 300 headgear or something?
Yeah, something crazy.
It's, and of course, probably the most...
And it's silly when you think about it, right? I mean, it's
But it works. It works.
But all of us are like, what's he up to this week? What's he going to do this week?
But it took his personality, too.
Yeah.
His personality makes it work.
Yeah.
You put another ex-coach there?
No.
Not going to work,
No, and by the way, he turned 87 August 7th. My youngest son, Chase, and Lee have the same birthday, so every year, August 7th, before I can call him, he's calling me, hey, I want to tell Chase happy birthday. He's my favorite. The same birthday. So. And
I love the relationship you have. I know that you find him now on game day, before game day, you find him, and he's doing his prep work, and love that. I mean, I think that's an intimate segment. And you've referred to him like a second dad.
Yeah, I mean, he's like a second dad, or a coach that like probably Coach Broyles to you, or a coach that you had that just meant a lot to you. Our relationship was always tight. When I got married and I had kids, my identical twins were born prematurely. They were born 28 weeks, about 2 pounds each, and they were in the NICU for 8 weeks. And there was just a lot of drama there. And so he's one of the people, you guys see us on air, but what you don't see is us doing a commercial shoot or stuff we do in the off season, and we're in the back of a car like we were today. We're just kind of getting to know each other better. What happens when you do that year after year after year, you start to really become close, and you open up your heart a little bit, and you start talking about important things. And I always call him like Yoda, or Don Corleone petting a cat. I just go there with my problems with Don Corleone, and he's just sitting there. He's like listening, doesn't interrupt. He just petting his cat, and then I get done like I'm like out of breath with all my struggles, and it's like listens, and he's an Italian guy, and he just kind of gives 2 sentences. And I'm just like, he's like, you'll be fine. You do this, you do that. And I'm just like, okay, there it is, you know. and he's a good listener, man. He's such a good listener. That's such a valuable trait. And so when you get somebody who listens and actually digests it and gives you great feedback, and you're talking about your kids, or you're talking about your wife, or you're talking about whatever it is, your family, I started talking to him more than anybody about really important stuff. And even this Amazon deal, I was really getting emotional about it, ESPN and Amazon, and what's going to happen, and can I marry the two somehow? And I called him, and I was like going one way, and he's like, no, you're not going to do that. And I was like, I'm not? He goes, no, that's not you. That's not who you are. That's not your wire. You're not. You'll have to look yourself in the mirror, and you won't like what you see. He's like, you're not going to do that. And I was like, back up. Okay, yes, sir. Okay. I mean, and whatever he tells me, I do. You know, so he's just a valuable friend. I guess is the best way to describe it.
Now he's done over 300 of these headgear deals, but there's always one that everybody refers to. We've got the clip. You want to set it up? We've got the clip. You want to play it first?
Well, yeah.
How do you want to do it?
First of all, I don't mean to offend anybody with what you might hear here. Has anybody ever heard of this or remember when Lee Corso said the F-bomb?
Live
on TV. So just to review here before you see this, are you running this online? Am I going to get in trouble?
No, it will not play online. Yeah.
Okay. So just to review, usually College Game Day, for those of you who don't know, College Game Day will go to the game of the week. It's usually like a huge game. And there's some weeks we go to a game where there's just not a big game, so we'll go to North Dakota State or James Madison, or there's just like sometimes a couple games out of the year or weeks out of the year that we just don't have that big game. This particular year, Houston, if you remember, Kevin Sumlin was at Houston one year, having a monster year. They were undefeated, and they're playing SMU, who was really down, and they were favored by 30 or 40 points. But we really weren't going for the game. It was more for Houston. So we go, and we have a great time, huge crowd. The team themselves, which is rare, is out there. Big celebration. The game day's there to honor Houston. Carl Lewis is on the set for our celebrity picker, and we go through all the games. And we get to the Houston SMU game. And it's like, again, we're not picking against the point spread. We're just picking like who's going to win the game. It's like a 35. I mean, they're going to throw their jersey out and win the game, right? And it's like, Carl, you're from Houston. You know, who do you like? He's like, I'm going with Houston. You know, Kirk, who do you like? I'm like, I'm going with Houston. And then if you don't know Lee likes to usually he'll poor mouth a team, and then the home crowd they boo like a WWE character, and then he'll surprise you and he'll put the team on that he was just bad mouthing, and then everyone cheers and everybody gets to go home happy. That's usually the move that he makes. It's like a running back, real slow move like that. But that's what we're going with. So Houston, and then he tried. You're going to see this. He tried to tie in Carl Lewis and SMU's colors of being red, white, and blue, and Carl, USA, and all that. And usually when he does whatever he's doing, people boo, which is what he wants. In this case, crickets. No one cheered, no one booed, no one did anything, and he got frustrated. So this is what happened.
Look at the reaction on Kirk and Fowler and everybody's face. There you go. Did and I guess that made it on air.
I still get nervous when I see that. Yeah. Oh no, Carl Lewis was, when we took a break. Carl Lewis said, "Good thing we're on break, or good thing we're on delay." And I was like, "No, we're not on delay." And we went off. The funniest part of the whole story, I don't know if this is working. The funniest part of the whole story is we get done and our producer comes out of the truck, and Lee takes the cougar hat off, and you would think if it were me, I'd be like, "Oh my God, I'm going to be fired." He just takes it off like it's just like, "Well, that was great," high-fiving everybody. It's like, I'm like, "You said," and he goes, "So what?" And then, and I'm like, can you hear him say that? So what? And I'm like, I don't know, man. I don't know what's gonna, And then the producer comes out. And he's like, Coach, great. Yeah, everyone's usually after the show high five. Yeah, hey, good job. But I wrote a 2-sentence apology that we got to get on the air as soon as possible. And he's like, okay, great, yeah. And then he, earlier today I said something on College Game Day that I should not have said, and for this I'm sorry. That's what he's supposed to say. Well, he says it, he's taping it. Look into that camera and say this. And he's like, okay, no problem. And he says it, and then he goes, for that, I'm very sorry. And he does like we're selling Coke or something, like drink Coke, because we're so used to doing promotions. So he's like, for that, I'm very sorry, And then the producer's like, that was good, but this time, no smile at the end. So, yeah. I flew to Eugene, Oregon, because one of those weeks where Game Day got done and I had to fly to another spot. I fly to Eugene, Oregon. And our plane landed. Disney flies me in a plane like we were on today, kind of thing. And we land on the tarmac, and you see Phil Knight's always there with his Nike plane. So we've met him a bunch of times. He's been a celebrity picker on our show. So I go into the FBO, and as I do, his driver says, "Hey, Mr. Knight is on his like a big custom coach outside. He'd love to say hello real quick." And I said, "Sure." I wasn't thinking about what he wanted to say. So I go outside, our car's over here, his big, huge custom coach is over here. I see him like borderline sprinting down the 3 stairs through the window, and he starts jogging over to me, and he just high-fives me, and he hugs me, and he's like, "Man, tell me about the Corso, man, what happened? Oh my God." Like he wanted to hear everything about it, and I'm like, because I was worried, is he gonna get in trouble? And I'm like, man, everyone's high-fiving and celebrating, and Phil Knight's excited. Then I go to the stadium, and Chip Kelly sees me as the teams are warming up, because I got there a little bit late. He sprints down to the other end of the field. He's like, "Man, effing Corso, man, I can't wait. He's my hero." I'm just like, he's the only guy that can say that, and like his stock goes up.
I thought it was interesting, Matt. I was stunned that on the plane ride down, I was talking to Kirk. Kirk's covered so many great players and great games that I asked him on the plane. I said, of all the years you've been watching great football players, is there one that stands out? And I was somewhat surprised that you...
Well, you got to remember, I'm not just a football guy from when I worked on Game Day. We were talking about Gary Anderson earlier today. Like, I have great history. There's one guy I can't remember. I think he was number 53 on that Arkansas team.
Matt, did he send you the clip?
He was a headhunter. Like, I just can't remember. He's one of my favorite players. This might have been against Auburn, I think. Oh! You just submarined Bo Jackson. Look at the uni.
How about that?
Look at that uni, by the way.
How about that?
You look scary.
Where's the audio? There's no audio. Look at that. Listen.
Uh-oh. That's a wishbone.
Wishbone?
Lead block.
Boom.
Wow, backside.
Wait till the payoff at the end, Kirk. This is what you remember seeing as a kid. Real pads.
Watch you coming from the backside.
Yep.
Speed, babe. Wow. Oh.
There's that stash there, and there it is. So say, how about that? Boom.
Nice.
That's what he said. That's the first one he said.
That was my guy.
He didn't say Herschel. He didn't say Bo. He didn't say Flutie. He said 53.
You just took Bo Jackson down.
I did. More than
Boz
once.
didn't do that.
More than once. No, he didn't.
Boz didn't do that. Boz went right through Boz.
He did. Listen, I had a listen. You know what?
By the way, my son, I couldn't grow a beard or a mustache if I tried. My son can, and he went to Top Gun Maverick, and now a lot of the kids are doing this.
The stash.
Yeah, so I thought, I thought you might pull that baby back out.
2 names, Burt Reynolds.
Yeah.
And what's the other one?
Goose.
Tom Selleck. No, I'm talking about back in the day.
Yeah, Tom Selleck.
Yeah, to Tom go by. I did want to go back real quick because you did something with your dad that I think maybe you were either the first. There's only been 3, I think, in the history of Ohio State. You and your dad, you had a father-son. Both were captains.
Yeah.
And very unique thing. Something as a kid you took a lot of pride in following your dad. Your dad was an undersized player, running back that Probably shouldn't have been out there, but through his grit and determination, not only did he become a player, but he became, a team captain. And I know that had to be a huge thrill for you to be able to become a team captain too and fulfill that.
Yeah, my dad, he didn't put anything around. Like if you came into our house, you wouldn't even know he played at Ohio State. But the only thing he had was, and I was enamored with him and with Ohio State and college football. And he had a captain's mug on the mantle, and that was all we ever would see. And I grew up seeing that, and I'd always ask him stories about it. And I learned from a very early age, when you are recognized as a captain by your teammates, what an incredible honor that is, more than being an All-American or a Heisman winner or whatever it might be, just because it's your teammates that are with you 52 weeks out of the year, and they think you're our leader, and I think that always stuck with me. So it was a dream of mine, but as I told you my story, I thought it was shattered completely, and then to be able to eventually become a captain myself, that was just something that was very special and almost surreal to be able to accomplish.
Show the picture, Matt, of Kirk's dad. This is Kirk's dad on a coaching staff. Let's see, that's actually the one. That's a great picture. Your senior year, obviously, father captain, son captain. And do you see the one before that, number 16? That right there. And if you look, that's Woody Hayes in the lower middle to the far right, or to.
So Bo Schembechler is bottom left.
Thank you.
And my dad is to Woody's left and to my right.
How amazing is your dad played for Woody, then got to coach under Woody, then got to coach under Bo, but yet he did not decide that.
Well, my mom told him, anybody who's a coach's wife knows that is a really challenging thing. And I think my mom got to a point where it was like, you're going to have to figure this out, because I can't do this. And so honestly, I think my dad lived with regret for the rest of his life, because he would have been, I'm not saying it because he's my dad. It's just, if you look at the history of, he was in early with
22,
Bo.
yeah, 22,
with Bo,
I think, yeah.
And Bo went on to do whatever, and everybody behind him went on to become a big coach. So he would have been. So he took it out on me. He coached me instead of coaching all those other players. But I loved it. I'm a weird guy. Like, I know today we have to be careful with players and their feelings. Sure. I love to be coached hard. Like I don't want to say like Bobby Knight type, but I love the old school, like in your face, challenge you in a good way. Right. I told you Elliot Uselak, I never really respected. He was an Ohio State guy, and he was kind of fake tough. But if it's legit, like if you mess up and somebody's going to challenge you, and I messed up, I'm okay with that.
Right.
So I kind of like that. And my dad wasn't like that at all, though. My dad was Richie Cunningham from Happy Days. It was kind of like that kind of personality.
Hey, Kirk Herbstreit, I know exactly what you're talking about, having a coach that would challenge you. Yeah. I challenge David Basil all the time. This book, this is what I wanted to get to. So a couple things I wanted to share. So I don't read a lot of books, but I have. I will encourage you to read it. A lot of things came out of it. First thing I was going to tell you, I was a team captain. It's one of the proudest things I've ever done, is be voted to team captain for the Razorbacks. First time I'd seen in this book somebody that related that same way. Because I'll tell you, at Arkansas, we've done nothing with our team captains. I've never been to one function, been recognized, hardly anything. So when I saw the book, I reached out to Coach Pittman, reached out to Kyle Parkinson, and said, I want to start a tradition like they've been doing at Ohio State for decades, where any team captain of the last 100 years that's still alive wants to come up and meet the new team captains one morning or Friday before a game, Thursday night before whatever, and have the current team captains say a few words. And then you guys got mugs, but we don't have to get mugs. But I just want to tell you,
should do that, man.
I'm telling you. So I've pitched that to Coach, and I hope he does it. But I just want to tell you that influenced me to do it. Because that's the pride I take of being a team captain.
Yeah, that's great.
It was for you too.
Yeah, that's a neat thing, and it is cool to have them all come back in a room, and it keeps you connected, you know, and it also makes you realize, and it's neat to see the next group that's coming in. So Ohio State's been doing that. For probably 50 or 60 years. So that'd be a great new tradition for you guys to start.
The other thing I got to tell you, it was really tough reading your book as a kid. You came from a broken home. It was tough to read, and you were alone. Yeah. You and your sister, your brother somewhat, but it basically were you three, and then it was you
Yeah.
I mean, so I can't tell you how much respect. It was tough to read through there for you to have anybody to guide you. Horrible home situation. And somehow you just kept fighting your way through. And I just wanted to find out what, you didn't have anybody guiding you. What was the thing?
Coaches, helped. And for me, my parents divorced when I was 8. And then we moved. I went to I said it in the book. It was maybe 8 or 9 schools in 10 or 11 years. And my parents would get remarried, divorced. So I had step brothers and sisters. I would go to a school for a year. And I'm painful as a kid. I'm not as bad now. Painfully shy kid. If you had me stand up when I was in 5th grade in front of this group, I wouldn't do it. In fact, my high school senior year, it was my turn to give a speech in English. And she said, "Okay, Kirk, your turn." And keep in mind, I'm not bragging or anything, but I was like a high school All-American quarterback, whatever. And they're like, "Okay, Kirk, your turn." And I'm like, "I'm good." And she's like, no, it's your turn. And I was like, "You can go to the next person." And she's like, "What do you mean? It's 25% of your final grade." And I was like, "Okay, the next person." The more you're talking to me, the more attention's on me. It's not working for me. And so what happened, here's a quick story. In 9th grade, Darren went to school with me. In 9th grade, I wasn't quite to that level. And I gave a speech. And I went up there terrified, but I was like, I guess I got to do it. I was still at that point. So I got up there, I started giving my speech, and the prettiest girl in the entire school, Lael Oosthuizen, she's from South Africa. She was right here in front of me. And you and I sweat, so I was sweating. My face was as red as cardinal red, and I was just like, and she said, in the middle of it, "Oh my gosh, look how red he is." And I was like, well, that's it for me. I just was like, so that punished me I would never give a speech ever under any circumstances. And I'd been through a lot, and I was a quiet guy. As long as I had recess and gym, that was where I liked to be. If the teacher called on me, I was hiding under the chair. I was just that kid. You either have a son or a daughter like that, or maybe you were that way. I don't know what it is. It's just the way I was born. So it's nothing you can do about it except football and being interviewed helped me. When you're become a high school quarterback and a college quarterback especially, and you've got 50 mics in front of you and 12 cameras around you, and I'm talking about something I love, it was very easy for me to talk about that. But I finally, I guess, overcame it. But yeah, I went to a bunch of schools. I moved into a lot of different houses. My parents are great. It's not that I have a bad relationship with them at all, but I was not probably the kid you think, based on watching me on College Game Day.
That was the thing that this is not what I was expecting to read. And we're going to close with this. I want to go to the next picture of you and the boys, and Allison and the boys, if you could, Matt. Pop that up there. So these are your 4 boys. This is a few years older, right?
Yeah, that was during COVID. That was in the middle of COVID. That's my 4 boys. My identical twins who were born 2 pounds are on the far right. That's Jake and Ty. Zach on the far left he's at Ohio State. He's about 245 pounds right now. He's like a tight end H-back at Ohio State. And then the little guy wearing number 1, he's got my disease. He's at Ohio State, complete, way more than the rest. He's just an Ohio State freak. And then that's Ben, who's the patriarch. I take my assignments from him. He's my guy.
Big time dog lover. Yeah, and one more with your wife, Allison.
That's Allie, yeah. Allie and the twins. And again, that was right after COVID.
One thing I respect about you is that the communication between you and your dad was not there.
No.
And so I love the fact that I know that you're doing the extra to make sure. I noticed, his son at Ohio State I forget what the tradition is.
Yeah, they take a black stripe off when you've kind of been accepted.
Immediately you're on social media saying, proud of your son. You continue to be a great teammate. But I just love the fact that you're taking that extra to be communicative to your son, maybe that you didn't have.
Yeah, and again, my dad was my hero. I grew up and Darren would tell you, to the day he died, I never had resentment or anger, but it was just he didn't listen. So I'd want to share all these incredible stories, and he just was, oh, okay, okay. And when someone's listening and when they're kind of yeah, and he yeah, me, and what happened was the way I protected myself from that was I just stopped communicating with him. And that's my hero. So that sucked, you know, to have to go through that. And so unfortunately, the scars of that are when I'm with people socially, friends. If I sense that they lose eye contact, or I sense that I'm gone. Like I just abort the conversation. And so that's probably the worst thing that came out of all that. But I vowed that when I had kids, no matter what, I could be on TV, and if one of my kids say, "Hey, Dad," I'm like, "Hold on a second. Yeah, what's up?" I'm trying to be there,
right.
Just because it's hard. I mean, anybody who has kids knows it's hard to always listen. It's hard to always be there, but you just got to do the best you can. I've just made it a priority.
Well, you know, I think now we all know Kirk a lot better, don't we? And is it not great to have him here today? Let's get it up for Kirk Herbstreit, everybody. What a speech. What a great talk. Thank you for being here, everybody. John Gruden next week.
Oh, that's okay.
You killed it, brother. You killed it. Good job.
Well, thank you.
I'm a high school football.
I do a show that runs on over 60 stations every Friday night, so we got to stay right. Thank you.
Keep doing that work. That's awesome. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.